So I built this tool called the Prompt Formatter to make AI prompts cleaner and more organized, which will give you better performance. And as I was testing it, I noticed that when I drop it down to a mobile view, there's one thing that looks a little bit funky. So I'll just show you right here. You can add a text snippet and it'll bring up this row. And let me make this mobile view. And down here, you can see how these elements are not being resized and it's kind of spilling outside this view. And on top of that, when I went to this on my iPhone, let me bring up a screenshot of this. You can see the checkbox is just this little tiny dot over here. And this is exactly the kind of thing where I normally grab the CSS files and the HTML, copy and paste them into an AI chat, and ask for the mobile responsive fixes. So I figured I'm going to go ahead and use my own tool because I built it for this exact situation, and I'll show you exactly how it works. So because this is highly targeted, I just need to copy this element. So let me hit the inspect button on Google Chrome Inspector here. And I'm just going to copy this list item, or in this case, the entire list. Let me just do copy element, and I'll put that in the snippet. So you can see I added that with some junk information, but I can hit that edit button to paste in the actual HTML snippet. And over here, you can label your XML tag. So if I scroll down here, you're going to see it builds this in real time, and it wraps all the elements in XML, which helps AI know what is context and what is actually part of your question. So up here, I'm just going to rename this to HTML, and you'll see that'll change the tag down here. And I also have XML with the title. So in this case, it's just a snippet, but if you were to upload a file, it would give you that file name. In here is the file content. So this is the actual HTML that we pasted into the snippet area. So the next thing that we'll add is our CSS code. I'll add another text snippet, and let me copy the section of CSS, which is related to this list. I'll paste this in and rename this XML tag to CSS. And you can see each time you add an element here, it also adds these tags down here, which this is where we're going to ask our question. So for this, I'll just say on mobile, the text within each row spills outside the container element. And actually at the beginning of this, I'm just going to say, please reference the HTML code in, and then this is where you can just insert your tag. And I'll do the same thing with the CSS. And I'll also mention the problem that I had on the iPhone. So I'll just say that on iPhone, the checkbox looks like a little dot. So for this, I'm going to specifically ask for just CSS fixes. So this is going to be my prompt. And if we scroll down here, you get the estimated amount of input tokens that it's going to be, which if you're using the API, this is what you pay for. And then down here, we have our sections. We got the HTML section, we got the CSS section, and then we have our task here, which is our question. So you can just copy this, click this button to copy, or you can save it if you'd like to use it later. I'm going to jump right into my preferred role for code, which is my software developer system prompt. And I'll paste in this prompt with my favorite model to use for code, and that's Claude Sonnet 4. So we have a block of styles now that we can test out. And then here's the code for the iPhone checkbox fix. And let's take a look. We'll add a little text snippet, and I will bring up the mobile size. And you can see here the way that it fixed it was by moving some of these elements onto a second row, or this might just be happening naturally with the display flex property. So if I want, I can customize this even further. You can see that the sort buttons have a margin to the right and to the left of this spacing medium variable, which is 16 pixels. So let me test this out. And I'm going to change both of these to extra small. And then for the input text box, I have a minimum width set on this to 120 pixels. If I bring down this number as well as the width, which is set to 150, we can make this a little bit smaller. And you can also tell we have a little bit of a different checkbox style. It's got unique highlighting. And I can confirm that the checkbox does look good on the iPhone. The check mark is a little bit of a different font, which is probably an iPhone-specific font, but everything else looks exactly the same. So to really solve this, I'd go through a couple iterations, which I eventually will, and launch this on the site. Let me bring this back to a desktop size and refresh, and we'll test out adding a file. So here's a butter chicken recipe. So for this, I'll change the XML to recipe, and you have this markdown recipe here. We can add a text snippet, and obviously the CSS that we just were testing out is still being applied here, but you can reorder these by hitting these arrows. You can group elements if you want to put an XML tag around a handful of elements, and you can name the group tag whatever you'd like. You could set your defaults for the group tag here, or the element tag, which is just document. When you do the grouping, everything gets indented nicely, and then you can write your task down here and reference any of the elements that you've added up above. So that's the basics of how to use this. Just go ahead and build your prompt, hit this copy button, and you're ready to just paste it right into a chat. And if you got any recommendations for features to add, or if you hit any bugs, please let me know in the comments below. Or if you got this video via email, you can just hit reply to any of my emails and I'll get that.